I interviewed my favorite teacher, Ms. Kayla Rydell. She teaches family and consumer science. Ms. Rydell's cultural story connects to our theme because of her young life of how she was a small town girl. She told a lot about her culture. I think she has brought fairness a lot to her classroom because how she told her students to cook food, but she let them cook it their way that they have learned how to cook it.
And so I try to incorporate some of the different things, but a lot of it is already set in stone. Like I can't obviously go into the modules and change them. But like in cooking club, when we are trying to figure out what we want to cook, we ask the kids, like, is there something at home that you cook at home that you would like to come in here and share with the students? And so we try to bring that into cooking club. And then sometimes I'll do extra stuff with the students and I'll say, hey, if there's ever something you want to make that you make at home that you want to share here with me, that's fine, we can do it. But otherwise, like I said, a lot of the modules are pretty much kind of set in stone. And I'm hoping to do more of that, to get more diversity into my classroom. It's kind of hard being a first-year student, you know, I'm trying to still get used to that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping the more I teach, the better I'll get about bringing the diversity into the classroom.
My education, I'm a communication studies major, and I'm minor in women's studies. And through my 4 years, I have been looking at this whole aspect of a power of a story and trying to see how to help people bring out the stories that they have inside of them, because I really feel strongly that every person have a story inside of them, and that stories are actually the ways to break change, to break bondage, and to break some of these things that we are stuck inside of. And so I plan to go into my community and basically help youth develop who they want to be and inspire them to have their own voice, to share their story.
What do you love most about teaching?
What do I love most about teaching? I think the thing that I love most about teaching is that moment when a student finally gets it, when there's something that they've been struggling with academically, that then they just finally have that aha moment and they just understand what they're doing, and it's so gratifying because there's no monetary value that you can put on it, and just the feeling that you get when they understand it, how they feel, and they get it, and how you feel that you know that you finally help them achieve that goal or whatever it is.
It is a whole different experience teaching here with the diversity. I didn't grow up with it, and so just teaching here, it was just an eye-opener. And and I just love it. I love teaching. I love being a family and consumer science teacher. And when kids cook and they actually learn how to do it and they're actually excited about cooking, it's just the greatest feeling in the world. So, yep. And then I'm teaching them life skills. I'm teaching them skills so when you guys get out into the real world, mom and dad aren't around anymore, you'll be all right on your own. So it's just a good feeling knowing that I've taught you stuff to help you survive on your own. Yes. So, yep.
I learned what diversity means and why my teacher decided to become a teacher, what some of her role models were as a kid, and that she's been teaching for 3 years. There are some people that don't care what race you're on, and Ms. Wilson is one of them. Some people judge other people because of their skin color, language, from where they are before they even get to them.
I tell my kids this every day. I go through the whole day not noticing that everyone else is different than me, or speaks a different language, or is different, their skin's different. I mean, I honestly, when I think about it, I go through the whole day and it's not something that I notice. And I think that is so cool because people that come from different school districts, they come and they're like, wow, you only have like 3 white kids in this room. And I'm like, oh wow, I do? And I almost have to look and count because it's not an issue for me. Because to me, you know what, when you cut yourself, if you bleed the same color blood, you're the same to me. It doesn't matter. On the outside, if you're, more tan, or, which I'm jealous of people who have that beautiful tan skin because, I get sunburnt. But that is just something that I think is really cool because I don't notice that. It's not something that I put my focus on,
Diversity doesn't only have to be race.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't only have
It
to be
can be
race. No,
anything.
it just is how a person grown up, how they were taught, you know, how their parents grew up. So their parents usually bring it up to the next generation. But yeah, like the food is funny though, because a lot of them, they think that what I cook at home is funny because they don't cook it at home, or they make everything from scratch, you know, and I necessarily don't make everything from scratch. The biggest thing is, you know, in cooking, measurements. Because some of the, you know, it might say 1/4 of a teaspoon, and today I caught somebody putting in 1/4 of a cup. And it might not, because a lot of families just dump, you know, like when I cook, I dump, you know, so a lot of them are just so used to that they see 1/4 of a teaspoon on the computer and they don't exactly know what it is, so they dump 1/4 of a cup in. So but it has nothing to do with race, it's just how they were raised, you know, and.
Social justice issue is the whole idea of race and separation between different races and also classism. I think that I have a very strong opinion about, and I struggle with that, the whole idea of racism and classism and things like that. All because I believe that since I'm a minority, that I have to deal with the different issues of racism and also classism from coming from a low-income family. And I feel so strongly about it because people that are marginalized are some of the people that have less education, live in circumstances that they can't speak up for themselves. And so the whole idea of being in the marginalized group and knowing how it feels to not have a voice is something that I always want to fight against. So I'm always working twice as hard to be educated so that I can stand up for the rights of people that are still marginalized. Even myself, I'm not just immune to being marginalized because I have an education, but I also have the knowledge where I can speak up for some of those communities, some of those people that are still in those situations.
You know, everybody probably has some kind of injustice. I guess I could say maybe sports, you know, weren't necessarily always fair for me. I had to work really hard and, you know, I guess in sports I had coaches that didn't necessarily play me, I thought fairly or whatever, and, but I kind of use that today as a coach and try to make sure that I'm, you know, fair to my players and that type of thing and always give them a chance because I wasn't necessarily always given, I thought, the chance that I deserved. So yeah, I guess you could call it that. I don't see that as a big, I guess, huge injustice to me, but it has, you know, made me the person I am today. So I guess you could say that that was some kind of injustice.
Issues with the diversity here at the middle school, so. Or even with the students. I think the students do a very good job of treating each other equally. I mean, you're gonna see bullying here and there, but that's you know, in any district or in any school, you're gonna see that, so.
I like learning about justice and fairness so that I can learn different ways of showing fairness. I also like learning things about and meeting new people. It is fun being able to work in a team and being able to share ideas and work together to build a product.
You have the opportunity to voice your opinion in different ways. You have the opportunity to gain more knowledge on different issues, and also you have the opportunity to set yourself free from a lot of bondage, I feel like, with education.
You know, because here I am, I've never been out of the country, and, you know, I've maybe been to a couple of states, but some of these kids have been to Mexico, you know, some of them are from South Africa, some of them are from, you know, they've been all over the world, and I haven't even been out of the United States, so it's just cool to get to talk to them about being in Mexico, or, you know, maybe how, if they grew up in Mexico, just to kind of talk about, you know, some of the things that they experienced when they were in Mexico. So it's just cool to get to talk about their diversity and where they were from. Because, you know, like I said, I've never even been out of the United States, so just to sit and get, and, you know, and it might not necessarily be out of the United States. Some of them have been to have lived in California. Some of them have been to several schools. So it's just fun to sit down and talk with them about their experiences.
The things that I do, especially with like vocab, I tell my kids that they can, if they know that vocab word in English, that they can put it in their native language. And for a lot of these kids, what's making me upset is they don't speak their language at home. And I'm just like, wow, you need to be speaking it. And for kids to be able to be proficient in English, they need to have that background language to draw from, and a lot of these kids cannot speak or write or read in their native language. And so for them to be able to learn English, it's just an uphill battle for them. And so I tell them, I say, you know, go home and speak your language with your parents, because they'll show up for conferences and they'll understand it, but they don't necessarily speak it enough with their family at home. And I say, speak it, speak it, speak it. Any chance that I can get that I can use like a cognate, like we were talking about dormant volcanoes, and in Spanish the word for sleep is dormir. And so I asked my Spanish speakers, you know, what's dormir in Spanish mean? And they said sleep, you know. And so I would use that to help, you know, relate that any chance that I can. Of course, I don't speak Hmong or nor any of those things, because we have almost 20 some languages that are spoken in our district. So, I mean, Spanish is the one that I can relate to the best, and that's the one that's spoken the most. So, I mean, just things like that is really fun to be able to do.
Some of the way that they cook, okay? Some of them, I make tacos with ground beef. They think it's funny, they laugh at me, because they make it with carne asada. So that's a good example right there. Just the way that they cook, you know, just the way that they cook.
You're not just teaching kids, but you're teaching them about life, and you're helping them through any kind of struggles that they have, and it's so much more than just being a teacher. I mean, I spend more time with these kids than their parents do, so I kind of become, you know, a parent and a guidance counselor and, you know, police officer sometimes, you know, trying to make sure that, you know, fights and things aren't happening, but we don't have a lot of problems with that usually. But you just become so many more things than just a teacher when you become one, at least I think here. I feel like I'm so much more than just a teacher to these kids, but, you know, someone that they, you know, sometimes the kids call me mom even, you know, jokingly, but I truly believe that to some of them, I'm more of a mom or parent than some of their parents really are, so.